On that note, we're also going to call upon Umlungiseleli Njomeni. He's going to be discussing technical maths and technical science review. This one you definitely don't want to miss. Sir, please take to the podium.
Thank you very much, Program Director. Greetings to the Board of Sasol Kagiso Trust, Department of Basic Education, all stakeholders. Let me greet everybody who has been organizing this powerful event, which is reaching out to a lot of teachers, a lot of people who are interested in technical education, and for that I would like to immediately take this opportunity and appreciate this organized event and also the fact that I am part of it. Thank you very much. Let me greet even those who are virtual. Obviously, I've seen that they are fully participating, even in comments. It is interesting. And now I'm bringing a topic which I know a lot of people in technical education are interested in. On that note, we are going to go through the presentation. Right. Technical mathematics, first of all, and technical sciences, maybe there are people who may not be aware of these subjects, are the subjects that were introduced in 2016. 2016 in grade 10, 2017 in grade 11, and in 2018 we had the first cohort writing the metric or the grade 12 final examinations. So I will just go through the presentation as follows. We will be having just a small, there's a picture that I put there in the introduction, interestingly, just to look at it, which caught my attention. And we also look at schools based on 2021 that offered EGD as well as one more technical subject. And then we just check the status of technical sciences in 2018 up to 2021, looking at grade 12. And then we also look at technical mathematics status. We also look at tech maths and tech science summary of results now, where we just look at what were the trends, because that will inform number 6, which is technical education workshop, which the Director General approved last year, earlier this year, and we had it on the 1st and 2nd of June. And then we also have summary of Technical Education Commission discussions and recommendations. And then we also have a plan now for the review of technical mathematics and technical sciences curriculum. And then we've got conclusion. Now, in the introduction, as you know, that the speakers before me have also talked about the shortage of artisans and so on. So in a quest to widen the scope of work opportunities for young people who exit the schooling sector, the Department of Basic Education took a decision to afford youth multiple exit opportunities to different pathways. And among these, there is vocational and occupational pathways. The focus curricula have been developed to accommodate these pathways. I'm sure Dr. Simelane, in his presentation on Tristram's model, he talked about vocational and occupational pathways. In order to increase the uptake of the vocational education in the country, there is a proposal in place where, as a sector, there is this proposal which says we should move towards having 60% of the learners taking the vocational pathway and 40% taking the academic pathway. And the three-stream model is trying to respond to that. Now, we also have a very important plan called the National Development Plan, where it talks about the target that was set aside for 2030, which says as a country we need to produce around 30,000 artisans, of course subject to demand. That is page 9, chapter 9 on page 277 of the National Development Plan. Now, the Department of Basic Education now comes to the picture when it comes to achieving this. But the DBE, working with stakeholders, has made strides and continues to improve, of course, with challenges. I must not say everything is smooth. There are challenges, but we are always trying to improve. The introduction of technical mathematics and technical sciences as an alternative to mathematics and physical sciences is one of many examples. And once more, when we saw that there are challenges, especially in technical mathematics, we said we need to introduce practical assessment tasks. And last year, I was presenting the introduction of technical mathematics practical assessment task in the 5th annual conference. So those who attended must have noted that we made strides even when it comes to that. I must also say that we made a lot of strides also in terms of training teachers, in terms of workshopping them to make sure that in terms of delivering the content, they are more comfortable, because it must be noted that one of the challenges that we had identified was that the teachers who had to teach these subjects, technical mathematics and technical sciences, were not trained to teach these subjects. So we had to quickly train them before we introduced them. However, this training was not adequate, and then we continued to train them, what we call continuing professional development. So we continue, and we still continue to do that. Both the introduction of practical assessment task in technical mathematics and the continuous training of teachers in technical maths and technical sciences has seen improvement. You will note that in these next slides. Now, these two subjects, the main purpose was to say, learners, in fact, let me start by saying, one of the biggest challenges that we identified was that learners pass all their technical subjects, your EGD, and any specialization in any of the trades that they have chosen, electrical, mechanical, or civil technology, any specialization, they would pass these subjects, pass the languages, but then fail mathematics and physical sciences. And as we know, according to promotion requirements, once they fail 2 subjects, it means they fail. Yet the learners are actually good in their specializations, in their trades. Then the Department of Basic Education said, in order to solve this problem, let us then introduce subjects that will be more relevant to engineering or to the subjects that they are doing. Once more, when you introduce something, you have the intended purpose, and when it is implemented, you identify some of the loopholes and some of the gaps, which we identified, and we introduced the practical assessment task, and we continued training teachers. There has been concerns about the content in these subjects. A lot of people complained that these 2 subjects, they seem to be leaning towards mathematics and physical sciences. We must see clearly what are the differences between these 2 subjects, technical mathematics and technical sciences, as well as mathematics and physical sciences, respectively. And by that, we had to make them different a bit. Technical sciences, we introduced them with practical assessment task. Mathematics, we introduced the practical assessment task last year, which saw a big improvement because we are dealing with the learners who like to do things practical. We are not dealing with academics per se. We are dealing with learners who want to do things practical. Then the Director General of the Department of Basic Education approved the hosting of 2022 Technical Education Workshop. This was also more of a background of the summaries that I'm going to make at the end of my presentation. The Director General approved the hosting of the 2022 Technical Education Workshop, which took place on the 1st and 2nd of January 2022. And we invited all stakeholders, and I'm happy to indicate that Sasol was represented well. Kagiso Trust was also well represented. All the social partners representing teachers, the universities were invited. I can count SACE was invited. Even the speaker was there present. The speaker who was there before, who was here before me, was also there. A lot of stakeholders were invited, where we had that 2-day discussion about what is it that needs to be done in order to improve technical education from basic education perspective. Right. I just had that picture. That picture is an interesting one that I just saw when I was going through some of the social media platforms, and I saw this picture. And I was like, there's a lot that can be concluded. I am not sure, I don't want to divulge or to indicate what is it that I learned from this picture. It's just a challenge for you to look at it. Maybe in the charts, you can indicate what is your conclusion about what you see in that picture. But it is a picture that is surely indicating that something went wrong somewhere. As you can see, the train will not be able to pass there. But what are the challenges? What happened? What must have happened? And what is happening now? And what must be done? But surely, one thing for sure, this talk to teamwork, this talk to collaborations, this talk to working together and not working in silos. But you can conclude there's a lot that you can talk about there. It also can be linked to planning as well as implementation. But I'm going to pass there quickly. Just wanted to show you that picture. Then you can make your own conclusion. What is it that you are learning out of it? Right, if I can just summarize in terms of the number of schools that are offering EGD plus one or more technical schools in South Africa, right now we have, in 2021, we had 403, where we had 69 in Eastern Cape, 30 in Free State, Gauteng, 82, which is the biggest, that is Gauteng having the biggest number of schools. And those schools have increased this year. KwaZulu-Natal with 73, Limpopo with 43, Mpumalanga with 40, Northern Cape with 11, Northwest with 31, Western Cape with 24. So all in all, that picture is just a picture which I want everybody to know that these are the number of schools in my province, right? Now, if I look at from 2018 to 2021, we are testing now whether did the introduction of technical mathematics and technical science assist us? And what are the challenges? So if we look now at that particular slide, you will see that in 2017, this is grade 12, obviously we had got no school offering technical mathematics. Then we started with, in 2018, 351. Then the number increased by 7 in 2019. And you all know what happened in 2019 in terms of performance. It dropped drastically. And there is a link between performance and the offering of the subjects. There is no school that wants to continue offering a subject which is not doing well. There is no learner who wants to go to a subject which is not doing well. So they dropped it to 342. But in 2021, we further increased the number, but we have not yet reached the highest, which was in 2019. Of which this year, when I checked with provinces, I noted that we have got 366 schools, which is now the year when we are beating our best, previous best year of 2019 rather. So all in all, we want to increase the number of schools. Two things here: number of schools offering these subjects, and then number of learners offering these subjects become very important. Right. If we go now to the number of learners, you can see in 2018 we had 9,870. Then the number dropped a bit by about 200 learners. But we further increased the number to, in 2020, to more than 10,000 for the first time. And then in 2021, we also did a lot of advocacy to say more learners must offer these subjects. And then we ended up saying, let's increase the numbers. We have 13,000. When I checked, 13,295. When I checked this year, we have more than 16,000. So the number is continuing to increase. Then if we check on the side of technical sciences, in terms of the number of schools, 354. And then in 2018, there was a slight increase to 362. And then we dropped a bit in 2020, similar what happened to technical mathematics. And then we then went to 365, which is our highest. So when it comes to technical sciences, 2021 was our highest. It was the year we had highest number of schools. And when I checked, we have clocked 372 schools in 2022, right? So it's looking promising, though it's not increasing at the rate we want to increase. When it comes to technical sciences, we also had a similar trend with technical mathematics. But let me just quickly go to that slide where it shows on the left-hand side technical mathematics performance, on the right-hand side technical sciences performance over the year. When I reach this slide, I normally get embarrassed. I don't want to look at it, especially on the left-hand side, where you see that technical mathematics started at 50.7 pass rate. It means just over half of learners managed to pass technical mathematics. And remember, the subject was meant to alleviate or to relieve the burden in mathematics. So in the first 3 years, the performance in technical mathematics was below that one of mathematics, which told a story, which was a clear indication that the introduction of the subject did not solve the problem. Instead, it made it worse. Then we tried to do a lot of activities in 2021, starting with the introduction of PET, with the training of teachers, introduction of virtual sessions, and so on. Then we saw a big jump of more than 28% to 60.1%. And for the first time, the performance in technical mathematics was above that one of mathematics. And we are hoping that this year is going to go stronger and stronger, because we want the level to be comparable with other technical subjects. Then when it comes to technical sciences, it did not start that bad. It started at 87.6, but dropped a little bit, but dropped further in 2020, which was so worrying, but then jumped again to almost match the first year, which was 87.6, but we have not yet matched that. And this year, we want to return back to the 90s, because this is what we want. We want, if possible, to go to the 100%. All learners need to pass these subjects, because basically these subjects should be enablers. I always say to my colleagues, Mr. Posa and Ms. Litwiti, these should be enablers. In other words, these subjects must be assisting the technical subjects that the learner is actually doing. Then, if now I'm approaching the end of my presentation by doing a summary of commission discussions and recommendations, this was Commission 3. Now, I've just taken a slide, which is Commission 3, that during the technical education workshop, I was part of that commission. It was chaired by Mr. Mohammed from the Western Cape, the Deputy Director General from the Western Cape. And among things that we discussed, you can see on the left-hand side is just number one of the things that we discussed. We said there needs to be a plan to review technical mathematics and technical sciences CAPS content. And then some of the discussion points there and issues that were raised by attendees during that workshop. Like I said, everybody was invited, principals of schools, and we must thank the National Association of Schools of Technology, NAST. We must thank our partners, Sasol, Kagiso Trust. We must thank SACE. We must thank everybody who was involved there and present, because the discussions that we had were so fruitful. Then it was discovered that many people and many partners feel like the level and relevance of content in technical maths and technical science is not appropriate for the purpose intended. So there needs to be a reviewed CAPS that need to align with all technical subjects. Then some of the recommendations, of course, I'm just listing a few things. I'm just taking a slide which was summarizing everything. Those who were present in the conference know exactly what took place there. And then the recommendation was that we should review and customize technical mathematics and technical sciences CAPS. And there was a feeling that maybe let's tamper with only section 3, which is about content. But there was a feeling that we need to also check if section 1 is relevant, section 2 is relevant, and also section 4, which talks about assessment, right? So we agreed that. So this is an agreement which emanated or came from the workshop itself, technical education workshop. Then the subject committees for this subject had to be briefed and updated on the suggested changes, and that already took place. And the idea is to align the content of technical mathematics and technical sciences. Another stakeholder which is very important that I must acknowledge is Umalusi, our quality assurer. They were present and they were also guiding us even about what is happening in TVET colleges, so that we've got a smooth transition between basic education, high schools, as well as TVET colleges. It's very crucial and very important. So we learned that there is a national certificate vocational level 2 to 4 that we need to align with. There is also the issue of LTSM review. It needs to be reviewed, right? There is also the issue of communication, which is very crucial, as well as training of educators. And this time we must get it right. We need to make sure that we improve from how we did it last year. In other words, we need to make sure that we train teachers on time. We need to make sure that by the time we implement this reviewed curriculum, all teachers are actually up to speed and know exactly what is it that is expected of them. So these were presented in the TTCM committee, which is a subcommittee of HEADCOM. And now the next step is to present it to the heads of department and to the Council of Education Ministers. This is just a process for any change that needs to be followed. But basically, in the conference, we had 3 commissions. The other one was looking at HR matters, and I was very happy when there was also a presentation on HR matters, as well as resources, especially finances. So, but it's not my part to talk about. My part is basically on point number 1, which talks about a process that needs to be initiated for the review of curriculum content for technical mathematics and technical sciences. So this is just a summary in 1 bullet, a summary of what transpired in the workshop. And now what it means is that we need to run with it, and we have started running with it. You will see in the following slides where we are. A review of policy on subject combination was also raised. And then DPE's branch C and D, which is curriculum as well as delivery, they need to take discussions on curriculum and assessment issues and challenges that were raised during the workshop. So those who were present, like I said, they got the discussions. And those are in the website, by the way. So if you want to learn more, you can always go to DPE website and see what transpired in the workshop, what are the recommendations, and where are we right now. But briefly, I will just run through this one because I felt it's very important that I should include it. So from June to now, where are we? So we had a technical a technical education workshop. The recommendations were then presented to the subject committee immediately after that in the subject committee meetings that we had in July. Then in August, beginning of August, the chief director presented to the TTCM, that is Teacher Development and Curriculum Management Committee, which is a subcommittee of the heads of department committee, HEADCOM. Then the technical education workshop recommendations presented to the HEADCOM. This should be happening this month. And then after that, they will be presented to the HEADCOM. This should happen before the end of October. And then there should also be data collection, getting suggestions or inputs from teachers, subject advisors, as well as provincial coordinators. Now remember that this is very important because we need to get inputs in the review process. And then the steps that follow, then there is NCAT as well, then there is presentation to TTCM, then there is presentation to HEADCOM in terms of the reviewed curriculum now. And then in 2023 now, we want to finish the process as early as around May, June, where we will be talking about or dealing with LTSM now. And that is where also Kagiso Trust as well as Sasol come in, because in the past they have assisted us a lot. So we should also be dealing with curriculum review. And then also communication in number 13 becomes crucial. Communication to stakeholders as well as training of teachers. That process, we need to start it as early as July, during the school holidays of July 2023, and it's going to be continuous. And then we finalize the LTSM before October, that is end of September, it must be final. And then the implementation target is 2024. Maybe I must also include that currently there is a process, a recovery, ATP, as we know what transpired during the time of COVID. There is a process which is taking place where we had trimmed the curriculum and we had aligned or only mentioned the things or content areas that are very important. So now we are in the process now, which is a more of a long term. But there are some questions in my conclusions that maybe that are not exhaustive. We need to ask ourselves and remind ourselves, especially when we are doing this process, because I'm throwing this to teachers as well, to say when they are given an opportunity to input, last time I set up a link, for instance, and said, please comment, and very few teachers commented. I want to encourage teachers to participate in this process so that at the end of the year, we get, or at the end of the day, we get a content which is relevant, fit for the purpose, and where we are not going to have challenges going forward. So some of the questions, just to conclude, what was the purpose? Let's remind ourselves of technical maths and technical sciences. What mathematics or science is needed to assist learners in technical field? Do we put in mathematics that we know as people who are learned? Do we put mathematics that is needed by a technical learner? Does a learner who needs to do plumbing need to do the whole mathematics that is there in the current curriculum? Who wants to do woodworking? Who wants to be an electrician? What kind of mathematics and science is that learner needing? What should be the difference between technical mathematics and mathematics? Similarly, between technical sciences and physical sciences? And which topics are needed? And how deep must we go when we are dealing with these topics? So I said the questions are not exhaustive. You can have your own questions. Maybe you can put them in the chats. Maybe you can put them in the relevant, your subject advisors, your provincial coordinators, and ultimately they will come to us as a subject committee, and ultimately they will go to the relevant place. But in my conclusion, the most important thing that I always say is that sometimes working together doesn't necessarily mean working as a team or working having the same purpose. If you see what is showing now, you can see two gentlemen are working, but one is working against each other. So I always emphasize that it is very important that when we work, we should never work against each other. Instead, we should work towards achieving a common goal. And as we are in this process, I want to invite participation of all stakeholders, participation of all teachers, participation of all, including universities. We need to, universities and TVET colleges in particular, we need to be involved in this process. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you, Mlungseleli Njomeni. Please, sir, if you can join me here next to me. Speaking of working together, I did ask you earlier on about a poll that we're running. 91% of the people said yes to, would you like to qualify as an artisan? 73% said, if you qualified as an artisan, would you remain in teaching? And they said, yes, they would. But only 7% actually go to TVT college. The question is, where did you qualify for what you are doing? I'd like to firstly start off with a question that I have received here. The second one from Sanelisiwe Harrington, which says, I want to know this technical maths and science. Do they have points in tertiary level? Because there is this myth that says that they count less points in tertiary. Care to comment?
Yes, thank you very much. The two subjects. Firstly, maybe let me start by saying what was the purpose. The purpose of these subjects was to say there is mathematics and physical sciences already, which is existing. The mathematics and physical sciences is meant for learners who want to be more academics, who want to do BSc engineering, for instance, who want to be engineers. Then there was a gap for learners who want to be artisans. What is it that they should do, especially considering that mathematics is wide. In the topics that are in mathematics, for instance, they include your probability, your statistics, which are not relevant in engineering. Then the introduction of technical mathematics and technical sciences was to say, let us only look at topics that are relevant or that are needed by a learner who wants to do engineering, especially those who want to be artisans. So I want to say, first of all, the learners who want to be engineers, who want to do BSc engineering in universities, are supposed to do mathematics and physical sciences. Then learners who want to take the route of being artisans first. Remember, there is nothing stopping an artisan from continuing and being an engineer at the end of the day or after some time. So in short, these subjects do have points if learners are going to take the route of artisans. Secondly, the universities of technologies, those universities that we used to call technicons, they started to look at the curriculum, the CAPS document for technical maths and technical sciences, as well as question papers that they were set. And then they looked at them and they said, I will quote one of the professors who said, in actual fact, for learners who are going to do a diploma in engineering, learners who have been exposed to technical mathematics and technical sciences perform better in year one, because already some of the topics that are done in technical maths and technical sciences are also done at first year in university, so they find it easy. Then they said, we are including these subjects in our point system, that is APS. So you'll find out that the universities of technology have now come to the party to allocate points for these subjects. But I want to emphasize again, the purpose for these subjects was for learners who want to take the route of being artisans first. In short, those who want to go to university and do BSc engineering, they are supposed to do mathematics and physical sciences so that they are allocated full points. That is why some of the universities will say, if I'm giving 6 points for mathematics, I will give 5 points for technical mathematics, something like that one. Or if the requirement in mathematics is a level 5, then I will say for technical mathematics, it must be a level 6. So they add. This is not new. It is also similar when we introduced mathematical literacy in the system, where some of the universities started to recognize mathematical literacy and said, you know what, if we require a level 4 in mathematics, if a learner has done mathematical literacy, we'll require level 5, something like that. So there are points allocated, but the level is not going to be the same as that one of mathematics and physical sciences. Thank you.
We continue to check the polls, so please do continue to vote because it matters. And also, like I said, keep on with the discussion. We want to hear exactly what your thoughts are. I have another question for you here, sir. Technical maths and science was introduced in 2016. Till now, is there any good story that you can tell us from the past students?
There are quite a number of good stories that we can tell. Like I said earlier, one of them is a comment that is continuing to be made by universities themselves. I've seen in the conference there are also colleagues from universities of technologies, TVET colleges. Before I came to the stage, I was reading with interest their comments, and I liked that they are involved. If they were to be given a chance, for instance, this question would be best answered by them, especially about the level of understanding of learners who have done these subjects when it comes to them going to a tertiary institution. I can guarantee when they go there already, technical mathematics for learners, for instance, in grade 12, they have already done binary numbers, which are done in electrical, especially in electronics. So when they reach there, they just cruise and they do well. They pass with distinctions. Then complex numbers, for instance, they are not there in mathematics, but in technical mathematics, they are there. So these learners, when they go to year one, already they know that they are complex numbers, imaginary numbers, and they do well and pass with distinctions compared to their counterparts. In most cases, you'll find out that when they exit our level as DPE and then they go to tertiary, they are having more chances of doing well because of the exposure they already have. Remember that these subjects also link with practicality of mathematics and science. So, for instance, they don't just solve for X. There is a purpose. Why are they solving for X? They don't just say in Euclidean geometry, do a Euclidean geometry problem. They are given maybe a scenario that there is a field there which is divided in this form and that form. So then calculate the dimensions like this, or the volume, or maybe there is a container that must be created. It needs to have these dimensions, and it needs to have this volume. How are you going to do it? Then they solve using mathematics, using science. So definitely there are a lot of good stories. We do have products already, that is learners who have already graduated, having done technical mathematics and technical sciences. Thank you.
Thank you for that. My next question is going to be the benchmark for technical maths and science. Do we have countries that we look up to when it comes to that regard?
Yes. we are studying a lot of countries in terms of technical education. And the interesting thing is we don't necessarily have to go far. Within Africa, there are countries who are doing very well when it comes to technical education. And we checked, like, for instance, countries like Kenya, which recently we had an interaction with. And we even had some of the colleagues going there to understudy what is happening. One may say, why Kenya? But when you look at some of the countries, our neighbors and our fellow African countries, some of them are doing well, especially in technical education. So there is a lot that we can learn from them. So we are benchmarking. We also had interaction. We also at DPE, as we know, we are having a lot of partnerships with Cuba, with China, for instance, with a lot of countries. So in short, we are also comparing our curriculum with the curriculum that other countries are offering, and we have learned a lot from those countries, I must say, and we are continuing to improve based on some of the things that we learn, plus our current situation in our country.
So with that being said, are you saying that is that the reason why government is leaning more towards your vocational qualifications? Because I heard you talk about earlier on in your presentation that in the NDPP, that they wanted to reach, I think it's 60%.
60-40, yes.
60-40.
Yes.
What is the reason behind government's decision of wanting to lean more towards that?
Now, we all know the challenges of unemployment in our country. Day in, day out, we hear some of the young people saying, I have graduated, but I'm not working. I was told that I must go and study. I studied, I graduated, but I'm not working. The question now is, what is it that these young people have studied? We must also check the demand of the courses that they are doing. Are they in demand? So I don't want to make examples and sound as though I'm trying to say certain courses they must not do. But now, before you study anything, you need to check the demand, whether after I've completed this, what are the opportunities? Are the opportunities there? Or do I also have an opportunity to create something for myself? One of the powers or one of the advantages of the pathway of vocational and technical is that learners are also trained practically. That makes them to be able to work on their own, to create their own jobs. For instance, if a person has studied electrical technology and it has been exposed to practical, you don't even, that you'll find out that when you're having troubles at home and you find out that the electricity is not working, you can just call that person to come and assist, so they are able in that way to quickly create job for themselves and for other people surrounding them. I even do have some of the people, for instance, the plumber that I'm using at my own home, the electrician that I'm using at my own home, those are my former students. When I was still at school, those are my former students. So much as they were not immediately employed after that, they managed to start. One of them even started his own company and is now having his own company. So in short, one of the reasons why in the National Development Plan, the government is leaning towards making sure that we have more learners, more young people going the route of technical or vocational, is that it doesn't only end by having a qualification. It also goes to an extent of saying, I now have this qualification and I'm looking for a job if you are looking for a job. But while you are looking for a job, you can start your own thing, you can work for yourself. And who knows, it happens that some say, I no longer want to be employed. Instead, I'm the one who's employing. So in short, we are leaning towards that. That is the National Development Plan resolution that was taken by the National Planning Commission. I think that was in 2007. So in short, we are pushing more young people to take this route because they can, after finishing or after graduating or after passing, they may not necessarily wait to be employed. Instead, they can be creators themselves, employ even other young people who want to be employed.
Just going back to some of the poll questions here, one of them being, until we get qualified teachers in these subjects, who is better placed to teach tech maths, a pure maths teacher or a trade subject teacher. Not so long ago, it was sitting at 50-50. But as it stands right now, 53% of the votes are going to a pure maths teacher, while 47% are going to a trade subject teacher. Mr. Njomeni, thank you so much for your insightful words of encouragement and also just giving us a better understanding of what is happening with regards to that.